the people have the right amount of expertise and infrastructure, and you can really increase your decrease your cycle times and increase your productivity using a collaborative model, working with partners and creating a network which can be useful in terms of increasing your productivity.
Venkat Jasti is Chairman and CEO of Suven Life Sciences. His passion is to help develop new drug candidates at a fraction of the cost that it would in the Western countries. Do the early development, demonstrate the proof of concept, and then license the candidate out. To you, sir, I have 3 questions, which is really 3 parts of one question. What is the size of the drug discovery services business in India? How many Indian companies offer this kind of services? And who are the leading MNC partners who are doing drug discovery research in collaboration with Indian companies?
Thanks to the organizers again and Harry for bringing me here. The size of the drug discovery services in India is very minuscule. And the number of players that are involved are also less than 10, I can say. The players that are involved in the collaborative drug discovery partnership, as Harry has already mentioned, like the AstraZeneca, Endo, Pfizer, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, and BMS, like that. But the problem here is, it is the mindset of the entrepreneurs in this country not to move aggressively into this area. And of course, some of the regulatory constraints we have. And at the same time, I have a question for you, Richard. You said the ecosystem is changing, these budgets are being slashed, and the collaborative things has to come in. But I don't know why nothing comes to India and everything goes to China. Is it because the country risk, or perception-wise, or it is the entrepreneurs here who are not capable of delivering goods? But if that is so, why so many people are in the collaborative drug discovery, but at the same time services are not coming to this country, which is a big portion which we can use it to build our capabilities and collaborate with you, with your knowledge, and take to the next level, because as you rightly said, without the everything cannot be done in one campus. That's true. And there are pockets of specialty things that they can bring it in, but still that is not being exploited, especially in Indian region. I think we are not quite sure why it's not happening. We thought it's me, or I mean in the sense our company, or is it the country itself?
I can safely say that not all of the R&D dollars are excluded from India. So we have some great partners in India, and in fact, if Schwappen doesn't mind, to steal his thunder, Schwappen will be issuing a press release of one of our joint collaborations with TCG that's actually identified a preclinical candidate. So you all have the scoop now a few days ahead of the press release. But I think that example, I think your company is an example of what you want to have in a partner is somebody who does something which isn't just a commodity. And I think that if the point you're raising is the entrepreneurs in India have to not just say, you know, chemistry CROs are successful, so I'm going to start a new chemistry CRO and be successful. I think your company has set out specifically on a slice of pharma that nobody else was doing. And I know that when we visited you, I think just about every company that was doing CNS research was, you know, making a pathway to your company to check that out, because again, it was just something that was a differentiated service. So I would say, you know, the challenge for India is that there's no obligation to work in India if you're a multinational pharma. We work around the globe. You see now CROs popping up in the Ukraine and Europe and the US now. So I think that, you know, I won't say it's a buyer's market, because it isn't, again, like it's a commodity, but when you want to have a problem solved, you need to find people who can solve the problem. And you don't do it out of friendship. You know, I like somebody, so I'm going to have them try to solve this problem. You've got them. And if they happen to be in India, we'll be traipsing our way out to India. But I do think that the discussion this morning about, you know, the difficulty in the marketplace, I do think the challenge is going to be the entrepreneurs that are starting companies or those that own companies have to always evolve and differentiate, because what eventually, if you can do something which is SOP driven, others can do that. So you have to keep moving up that value chain and offering something that the multinational farmers care about. So it's easy to say. I know it's very hard to do, and there's no guarantee that people beat a path to your door, but unfortunately, that's the marketplace.
Dr. Kakaria, you were telling us about the complexity of biosimilars, biosimilar drug development. The question to you now is A, where does India stand in the global arena of biosimilar drugs? And how do you see is the future of the international market? I was actually shocked when I heard a very senior executive from Dr. Reddy's tell me that the worldwide biosimilar market as it stands today is just $350 million. Sir.
Does India stand? I would say India is on the right trajectory. There are some countries which I feel, or at least a country which is ahead of India, but I think once India is getting the right critical mass of professionals who can actually deliver biosimilar products just like they did with the other products. So there is a lot of potential. There are a few large players, but there are also a few small players which would add a lot of, I would say, would add to the whole mix. So it's actually great from that side, from that point of view, and the progress has been fairly rapid compared to a few years back, as what's come out in the market. Sadly, the Indian regulatory system still needs, I would say, still needs to catch up, if anything else. And once that happens, I think there is going to be a lot more innovation and a lot more, I would say, just even money added or invested in the biosimilar business. Now, the second question, where does the international biosimilar business stand right now? You're right. It's just about, I think it was even less than 350 million, but let's say it's about 350 million. The biggest player right now, which is the United States, is out of that market. And that's the reason the market looks so small, because it's only Europe and the developed countries. The other, I would say, other developed countries or big developing countries like, say, Brazil, Mexico are also behind. These countries have to catch up. And just yesterday, the United States, the FDA, actually released some guidelines regarding biosimilars. Once those guidelines get sort of sorted out, and once there are players who are willing to invest the kind of money, actually the whole industry is going to grow. I mean, reality demands that basically they have to do it. I mean, because no country, all the countries' budgets are getting busted because of Medicare. And I mean, reality says that somewhere along the line, there has to be, just like what generics did, there has to be cheaper biosimilar products which have to come out in the market. Question is just when. And I'd say in the next 5 years, it would probably transform a lot of things.
Thank you very much, Doctor, who's a former director of the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. Now, to him I want to ask, you know, during the day we've had several people say that that the biotechnology industry in general and biotechnology drugs in particular needs government support at a variety of levels. He has some direct experience which he is going to tell us.
Thank you. Actually, today we are talking about cost effectiveness, particularly for the private sector to develop new drugs in this country. One of the ways of reducing the costs in this country is to take help of public funded research institutions as well as public funding for research in this area. There are a number of programs are there, number of institutes are there with excellent quality scientists. As the director of Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, I would like to mention that even today we have a number of contract research programs with overseas as well as Indian companies in the drug discovery. And what I'd like to mention is that many of these programs are in the preliminary phase of drug discovery, where people would like to explore the number of new molecules and